Hello and welcome to Pints and Quarts, a show presented by Craft Beer Nation. Today's Thursday, March the 24th. I'm Julep Ale, your host for tonight, and our guest is Mark Osborn, founder of Adroit Theory Brewing Company. They are creating some fantastic beers down in Virginia, and they say that they make esoteric beers. And soon we will learn what he means by that. So pour a beer in a glass and get comfortable. And while the team music plays, would be a great time for you to subscribe to our iTunes, Stitchers, and YouTube channels. We'll be right back.
Time now for a look back at the last week in the craft beer industry. Pour a cold one and sit back for an all-new episode of Pints and Quarts, presented by Craft Beer Nation.
All right, welcome back and live, and we have some of our usual suspects today, Doug Nolan and Freddie Rodriguez. How are you guys doing?
So, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. And our guest tonight is Mark Osborn from Adroit Theory. Do I pronounce the brewer's name right?
Yes, you got it right. Adroit Theory.
Sounds good. So how are you doing tonight, Mark? And by the way, thanks for coming to the show tonight.
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, but thank you for inviting us. We were very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've, in the past month, I've heard a lot of good things about your brewers. Like, your labels look awesome, and I heard the beer is as good. So maybe you want to just tell us a little bit about the brewer and about yourself, how you got into this business, and we know that's not, people have fantasy about being in the brew industry, but we know it's not that easy of a business to be running right now with a lot of breweries open every day.
Well, yes, there is definitely a lot of new breweries, new competition, and it's funny. I was just like you guys. I was a hardcore fan. I was that guy going to festivals and going on beer tours and beer cruises and all that stuff. And after several years of doing that, I just felt like I started to see the same things, again and again. At different breweries, and I just felt like, I might be able to do something a little bit more interesting, a little bit more unique. And at the time when I started thinking about Adroit Theory, in Virginia at least, and maybe the Mid-Atlantic, there just weren't breweries that were pushing the boundaries of what was acceptable and brewing techniques and brewing styles. So I just thought it would be a fun niche. I met my brewer. I'm not the brewer, but I met my brewer, Greg Scottsko, and we hit it off. And he had lots of ideas, and I had lots of ideas. And next thing you know, the ball's rolling down the hill.
How old is the brewery again?
We just celebrated our 2-year anniversary.
Nice, awesome.
And we just finished our 400th distinct beer.
Wow.
Well, that's a good place to go when you're only 2 years on the brewing, and then people are hearing about you on other states. That seems to be a good place to be right now.
Absolutely.
Well, I see. I think I follow you guys on Instagram, and I see. It seems like every day or every other day you're posting beer number 3 of the week, beer number 4, beer number 5. I mean, I know you say 400. When you do these, 3, 4, 5 different beers a week, I mean, how large of a batch are you making?
Sometimes one keg.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
I mean, literally one keg. Most of the time, usually at least 2 kegs, which still isn't very much beer.
No, probably not.
Yeah, but then there's bigger production batches, which would tend to be 10 barrels. But we also do quite a bit of barrel aging. So even if we do let's say a 10-barrel or 20-barrel batch, we're going to break it off into 4 or 5 or 6 different barrels and let it age, and then roll those barreled aged beers out, over a series of months. So, we do small batches every single week, which are really just, experiments, and some work, some don't, but they become the fuel for what we might do on a bigger batch. And then we have right now in the pipeline, 30 barrel-aged beers that will be coming out with, this year that are already made and are just percolating away. So it's nice to allow us to have just an always changing portfolio. And of course, that's completely predicated on the assumption that we have no flagship or no allegiance to any particular beer in our portfolio. We just constantly rotate through new ideas.
And how hard is that? Because that seems to be a harsh thing to go.
Well, it's a lot of work. That much is certain. But I think it's what makes what we're doing and other breweries that are doing similar things really cutting edge and really unique is that it's always new, it's always unique. Basically, every beer is a one-off seasonal. But it is a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of paperwork, dozens and dozens of labels to design on an ongoing basis. So it's a constant treadmill, but it's very exciting. And again, we do go back and revisit beers from time to time. So, for instance, before we got on the call, you had mentioned the Imagination Atrophy. We just re-released that beer. We had made it once last year, and it was just phenomenally successful. So we decided to, redo it and revamp it a little bit. But when we sell out of the current batch of that beer, I don't know if or when we'll ever make it again.
That sounds delicious, man.
Yeah, so you're one of those people that have your gears like moving all the time when like always thinking about the next brew, or you just let it happen organically?
I work with my brewer Greg quite a bit on like big picture ideas of things we want to do and ideas that I have and that he has. But I also give him carte blanche for the day-to-day stuff. I mean, he literally cranks out 4 or 5 distinct recipes every single week like clockwork. And again, some of them are variations of things that he might have done earlier. But you'd be surprised at just how many unique ideas and ingredients and techniques. Mm-hmm. He just is a fountain of new ideas, which is why we love him.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit what you guys have plans, or you settled down for a while? What's the future from the brewery for now, or something you're not thinking about much right now?
Oh no, we're thinking about that quite a bit. This is a very transitional period for us. I mean, we are, first and foremost, we are infinitesimally small. I don't think people sometimes, they see the package, sitting on a shelf somewhere, and they're like, oh wow, those guys, they must be a big brewery, and we're absolutely not a big brewery. We are teeny tiny. We did less than 500 barrels last year. So this year we have a new system that's arriving next month and will allow us to brew bigger batches in-house, and as well as do a lot of variant brewing where we can brew a base beer and split it off into 4 smaller fermenters and use 4 different hops, for instance, stuff we can't do right now. So that's exciting. If anyone's been to the tasting room, it's good size for the general public, but not so much for brewing. But we are expanding into the adjacent suite next to us and building a new tasting room to complement the one we already have. So we will have up to 37 beers on draft at any given time. Expanding our hours, we're expanding our distribution. So I mean, things are very transitional right now, and it's keeping us on our toes because we have to also keep the lights on and make new and interesting beers every single week. It's a never-ending cycle.
I'm kind of glad that was one of my questions, was going to be like distribution, your footprint now. So what are you guys looking towards as far as distribution goes?
Well, we're obviously in Virginia, and the laws are pretty strict. So what happened last year is my wife started a distribution business, and obviously it was to distribute our beer primarily. So we're letting them do that throughout the entire state of Virginia. In the process, they did pick up some other breweries along the way, which is good, and that business is going very well, although it's only a year old. We self-distribute in Maryland, and then we'll add DC hopefully later this summer, and again self-distribute in DC. After that, we're taking a wait-and-see approach. Again, we don't have a lot of beer, so if somebody from New York said, I want to buy a pallet of beer from you, like, that would be awesome, but also like, holy crap, there goes all of our beer.
No, absolutely.
So, until we can get, a little bit more self-sufficient, in terms of making our own beer and selling it locally, it will be limited, but the long-term strategy is a wide but shallow model. You know what I mean? We want to be in ideally 50 states, or, or if not, the major states, major cities, but, they're getting 1 or 2 kegs, they're getting 1 or 2 cases, but we're in a lot of areas. So
you guys have a lot of big hurdles. Like you said in Virginia, how things are a little tougher.
I mean, it's not as bad, I guess, as some states, but it is. It's a bureaucratic industry. You know what I mean? Very heavily regulated.
So, like when you mentioned distributing in Virginia, how far out from your area do you go? Like I mentioned earlier, I saw some of your bottles in Charlottesville, Virginia, but I'm in Roanoke, so I don't think I've seen any bottles pop up down here yet.
Actually, you're in luck. We are going, I think, Friday or maybe next week. We're delivering some beer down to Roanoke. So,
okay.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Christmas comes early.
Again, we're small, so it's when you were the bigger distributor, they can roll it out, citywide, statewide, overnight. We are a 1-year-old distribution company, so every sale is a new sale, and it just takes a long time to get your foot in the door. But technically, we can service the entire state of Virginia. And when people call us, we put an order together and we send it down. So we're in Charlottesville, we're in Richmond, we're in Norfolk, we're in Northern Virginia, obviously. But again, small quantities. They order 4 cases and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you serve food on your location, or just a tap room?
I think we have peanuts. I think.
So yes.
But you do get food trucks in the area there?
Occasionally.
Okay.
I should probably mention we only make beers above 7%. And without food, as you can imagine, it's and we have 25 beers on draft currently. So.
Well, Doug doesn't consider anything under 7%. He doesn't even think it's beer. So.
Yes, is it worth drinking?
Yeah.
Man.
That's a table.
I see you guys on your little description there, and you say you have emphasis on barrel. I mean, that's a big thing for a small brewery to take over, because you have the real estate and beer seating, and for a little bit longer than you normally wanted to have it. How's that working for you guys? That being a niche that you found, or?
Well, I mean, yeah, it is an emphasis. I think last year about 60% of the beer we sold was barrel aged. It's from a volume perspective. But from us, from a production perspective, it's really easy. Let me rephrase that. Once we find the barrels we want, the making of the beer and the aging of the beer is pretty easy. What we'll do is we'll brew a big batch, and we'll split it off into these, smaller sub batches, and then, release them over a long period of time. So that part's worked very well. The challenge, of course, is finding interesting and unique barrels, and then it is obviously a little bit more capital intensive, because we have quite a bit of inventory aging away. And some of these beers are aged a long time. Like we just kegged a beer yesterday that was aged for 2 months. And we're all looking at each other like, wow, only 2 months. Like, what's happening? Because the week before we kegged a beer that had been aging for 22 months. And so, it's like, wow, that's a long time to be sitting in a barrel, waiting to be sold.
Yeah, so you mentioned like interesting barrels. When I was talking earlier about the festival that I went to, and my buddy brought down a bunch of kegs from your place, and some of the things we had the Black Celebration aged in rum barrels. We had you can correct me if I pronounce any of these wrong, because Lord knows I probably will. The Ortolan Bunting in mezcal barrels.
Yeah. That was a great beer.
It was fantastic, and there's one I remember. I feel like there's something that was in a Jim Beam barrel, but I can't say for certain what it was. As I mentioned, it was a long day at the festival, and I may have missed writing down some of them. But I guess to my point is, so you get these mezcal and rum, and are you getting full size the barrel or are you getting some of like will age things in the littler barrels versus some of the larger ones?
I mean, 98% of what we buy are 53 or 59 gallon barrels.
Okay.
We also buy bigger than that. So, like you mentioned, Ortolan Bunting, which is it's just like a strong ale brewed with treacle. We age the majority of that beer in French Armagnac brandy barrels, and they're like 132 gallons apiece. I mean, the barrel is as big as like a V-dub. I mean, it's huge. But it's really interesting. Like, who has Armagnac brandy barrels? Like, I'm pretty sure we're the only people who've done it, and it was really interesting. Matter of fact, I bring that up because that's one of the beers we're serving at Savor this year.
Nice.
So maybe some photos are in your future,
Yep.
If I had a bigger checkbook and like an infinite budget, yesterday I would have bought those things. I have no room and no money, tie up in something like that. One day. But I will also mention we do like, we literally have done like 8-gallon barrels too. I have 4 15-gallon gin barrels that we're going to be filling week after next. And again, that's for the tasting room. It'll be something special that we do. We might have 1/6 will go out to a festival or to a prime account. But it's expensive. You can't make any money with real small barrels. Even though they're more interesting, frankly, a better taste profile, with a higher, wood to liquid ratio.
I got a quick question for you. So, browsing the website, I noticed you guys have a membership, the Black Card Society. I was wondering if maybe you could tell us about, how that came about, what was involved in it, and I mean, I by the looks of it, it's already sold out for this year. For anybody who's listening, it's too late. Apparently, it's a very popular thing.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. It was something we knew we wanted to do right off the get-go, and it has been, very successful. And to be, perfectly frank with you, it's been a great, cash flow and getting people to buy into the brand. But this is our 3rd year doing it. It's sold out. We have a waiting list for next year, and hopefully it'll, continue to be, sold out and successful. But I think it's just a great model. I don't know about you guys. Like, I've been that guy that's like gotten in line at 3 o'clock in the morning, hoping to get that special bottle release, with 5,000 other people that are in the queue, and it just seemed like a crazy way of doing it. So I was thinking, why don't we just create a club where basically somebody can contract up front to get the good stuff that we know they want, right? So we package it up. We know how many members we have. We put it in a package, and they pick it up when they want to pick it up. We have a big party and release and all that good stuff, but just a more civilized way of.
Yeah, I mean the perks look awesome. I'm looking at it, man. It definitely looks nice.
Well, we make sure we take care of them. They are our frontline, salespeople, if you will.
Yeah.
And to be frank, a lot of the beers, like some of the beers this year, came out of Black Heart beers that were released beers, last year and the year before. Because again, we try to, obviously do our A game all the time, but like do our A++ game for, for our members' beers.
Yeah, and for our viewers and for the people that are going to listen to this on our podcast, if you have a good local brewery, don't be cheap.
Yep.
Go to the festivals. Become a membership. I mean, it's important to support your brewery, mainly when they're starting. It's what's for me. For example, this is my hobby, and I'm happy when there are places like Adroit that comes up. So yeah, it's important to support. We are very selfish sometimes as craft lovers. We want things all the time. But we want it for good price, and we have to realize that good product, there's a cost to it.
I know Freddie touched on the membership, and I can't help but I mentioned Instagram earlier, and I was flipping through your pictures just now, because I remembered seeing it earlier. The Black is Your Soul variant 1. I see you mentioned that we realized we misspelled raspberry on our label. What's the variant of that?
Yeah,
what's the story behind that one?
Yeah, we make a lot of beers, so sometimes you don't have as much time to spell check as you might want.
So it was unintentional.
It was
Just,
unintentional.
just make
Okay.
a good story about that, and we will spread the word. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually,
Well, I know sometimes some breweries that do, kind of play on words. I know, like, Stone with their, Lucky Bastard. It's not really Lucky Bastard. It's kind of, Lucky Bastard all scrambled up. I didn't know if it was something, you guys did on purpose or if it was just kind of a...
Well, it's funny. I should have thought of that. We completely did it on purpose.
Yeah. I apologize if I brought it up then.
No, it's funny. If you guys come to the brewery, I'll take you on a tour. We have a big poster or like a banner like on the main wall right when you come in, and it's our we call it our manifesto. It's this rebel rousing script, and there's a spelling error in the middle of this like 75-foot banner, and it's funny because no one ever notices it, but once you notice it, it's like, whoops, there it is. So I see it every day I go to work. Like, well, yep. We'll retake that one day. One day it'll get returned.
I'm sure after the second beer, your beer's all at 10%. People probably don't notice.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when I was buying beer from you, I'm very big fan of Lovecraft, and I saw you guys had the Death. What was that? Death by Cthulhu? No.
The Death of Cthulhu.
Death of Cthulhu, yeah, and then and it was out of stock. I was like, no. 12% beer with that name.
You want it?
Yeah.
I would shoot myself if we came up with some pale ale or something.
No, the name's great. I was like, I wish I have looking at this, and that's the good and the bad. Like you said, you guys are always rotating, always moving into different beers, and yeah, well, it's good for who got that experience, but it's sad for people like me that look at that beer in the description thing.
Well, I will tell you that beer. It's a beer. It's a delicious beer. We're very proud of it. But we sold out all our bottles in like 4 hours.
Wow.
I can assure you, we'll be readdressing that beer at some point. At some point in the future.
Sounds awesome. I hope I get an email when it comes out.
Absolutely.
So, it seems to be very grounded. It seems to exactly what direction you want to go. Like you're doing barrels, you're doing things. You seem very centered. So is that being very rewarding for you? Is being like 2 great years or a lot of gray hair but hardship?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I turned 40. My wife and I had a baby, and we started a brewery. So yes, I have a lot of gray hair, but it's been, to be frank with you, it's been just a great outlet for me. You know what I mean? A creative and artistic outlet on the label side, a challenging and dynamic, idea mill, working with my brewers to come up with interesting ideas, and then of course on the publicity side of things, meeting and talking with people that are into what we were doing. I remember the night before we opened, I was thinking like, oh my God, are people going to be into this, quasi-satanic, high ABV, constantly rotation series of crazy beers? The answer, of course, is absolutely. But I didn't know that for a fact, and there was a little bit of risk. This is definitely not, how you start a brewery and what breweries do. Breweries need to make an IPA so that they can pay the bills. So this was definitely rolling the dice, but so far so good. And I think as we move forward, it'll just become that much better and more evolved, and hopefully more complex. I look at what we're making right now, and I'm like, oh man. We got to do a double barrel aging, we got to do this, we got to do that to kind of up the ante, if you will, like let's double brew a beer, or let's make a beer without water, or let's, the idea.
I completely forgot about that beer.
What's that?
Didn't you? Yeah, the one you did brew without water.
Oh yes, we did.
That is true. Yeah, it's good that you remember that, because
Yeah, as soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that, because I forget where I saw that. I don't know if it was on some sort of social media, and they were like, I don't know, or maybe it was somebody else posted something about that beer, and like, what did we brew this beer with? You can buy it at the grocery store or something like along some sort of like trivia question or something.
Yeah,
and, it rattled my brain for like months and months and months, and I don't even know how I even. Didn't you brew with another beer? Is that what it was, or something?
Well, the beer was called Cannibalism, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We had before you explain the story, but we had a Nicole Ernie, which is a master cicerone, one of the 11 master cicerone in the world, and we told her about that beer last week, and and she was like something I never seen before. She was very curious about.
I'm so glad that came up with right now with you here, because that beer, like when I first heard about that, I was like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Brew a beer with another beer?
Yeah, well, apparently it can be done. I will tell you that the day we were brewing that beer, the brewery smelled horrible. It literally smelled like a frat house, after a 3-day bingery. Like it just smelled terrible.
I mean, how does one buy just like cases and cases of beer? Do you buy like kegs? You're like
We
shooting
bought kegs. Yeah, we bought kegs and transferred them off and degassed them and just mashed in with somebody else's beer.
That's hilarious.
It was fun, and it was shockingly good. Shockingly good. Shockingly good. It was unbelievable.
That's what I heard. I heard it was really good. I forget what stout. What kind of stout? What style was it?
It was a milk stout. It was like
Okay.
a hoppy milk stout, and you're taking like something that basically looks like yellow water and turning it into like an 8% black as night, milk stout. And then you told people what you did, and their heads were just like.
I know the first time I heard it, when I finally heard like what you brewed that beer with, I was just like, man, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, just to think about like how you come up with an idea like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like I was saying, I see their posts on Instagram. It's like beer 1, beer 2, beer 3, beer 4 of the week, and you look at like the description of the beer, like, man, how do they come up with these things? Like, I feel like, and I'm sure you're going to continue to evolve and make different things, different ideas, but it's like I feel like you just set the bar so high of like just doing these kind of off the wall things. Because I mean, I know there's brewers that do different things or different styles or different additives or whatever, but I feel like none of them are kind of into the niche you've kind of marketed. I mean, it may be a small one, but it seems to be doing well for you.
well, we have our viewers. They want to know what you're drinking. Of all the questions, that's the one they're thinking.
Is that what they're thinking?
Yeah.
This is actually somebody else's beer. This is Alpine.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Alpine Pure Hoppiness.
Yep.
Pure Hoppiness.
That's good beer.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I've never had it before. It was recommended to me, so I picked one up. But it's funny because I shouldn't say we don't make a lot of hoppy, beers that, they're in high demand that people seem to love. And we have done it, and they have been really cool, but it's just not, what we do a lot of. So, but every once in a while, you need that. You need that, bitter, tongue-coating thrash in your mouth of a double IPA, and it's doing the trick.
I tell you what, man, you guys are right up my alley. I see a lot of barley wines and stouts and barrel aging going on.
Yeah, so that's what I like. I like big, or I like weird and delicate. You know what I mean? Like we do a lot of saisons. Like we have one that we aged in aqua V barrels, and I mean it was just magical. It's that balance of funk and a little bit of twang, but it was still approachable. It's hot outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like my buddy didn't bring any of those back because all the ones he brought back were like Black Celebration, Lux, a couple different Ortolan and Buttings, Tenebris.
Yeah, these are some of the Black Celebration. If you ever, we still actually have it. I mean, it's
Oh, it was
ridiculous
fantastic.
beer. It's a ridiculous beer. We still have it. You want bottles of it?
It sounds I'm gonna be wasted when your box arrives tomorrow, but. Well, we want to shift gears a little bit. We want to just before cover a little bit of news here. Just stick around the files a little bit, Mark, and we'll get back to you a little more. And feel free to pitch in on our conversation here. But Something. It seems that a lot of brewers being moving to the East Coast. A lot of West Coast brewing, and we just got. And I'm not even gonna tell you the source because I think it was in every other blog I read this week. And Doug can't take the smile off of his face. He's gonna have to have a plastic surgery to get the smile off his face. But the shoots is moving. It's gonna move right next to Doug's house, right there in Roanoke.
The brewery is literally maybe a half mile from where I work. It's in the same industrial park, actually, which is quite nice.
So
I'm sure
you're gonna ever make it to work again?
Yeah. Well, so this whole story, so they just announced it on, I think it was Tuesday, and come to find out, it has been in the works for the last 4 years. So they've been in talks with the Shoots to get them to come here for the last 4 years. And I think it really started becoming public in the last couple of years. But so they made the announcement. They had the governor was down here, and they're building a brewery, and they're investing $85 million in creating like 108 jobs. The catch, though, that they didn't mention during the press release is they're not planning on breaking ground until 2019, which was kind of, everyone was so excited. Oh, they're going to be here. Wait, they're not breaking ground for 3 years?
That's crazy.
So, so now everybody's like worried about, are they going to, make all this planning and then like back out, or, it's kind of, because that information didn't make it to the governor's press release when he was addressing the media here in Roanoke. But I think there was another article that was released, I think yesterday. Somebody had interviewed somebody from the Brewers Association and mentioned that, that's kind of what Deschutes does. They are kind of very methodical and very, want to make sure everything, get all their ducks in a row before they really, go full on. But where they are now, they still have to extend the road to the site. They have to run, sewage and water, utilities out to the lot.
Yeah.
It's a 49.5-acre piece of property, so it's going to be a pretty substantial operation. I mean, they said they're planning on breaking ground 2019 and planning on starting to ship beer out of there in 2021. So it's kind of off in the distance, but better late than never. They plan to start distribution to Virginia. They said by summertime, but they're going to start interviewing distributors now. We should have them call Mark's wife. Maybe they.
Monarch.
Yeah, Monarch.
I know.
Yeah, and Gary Fish is a very well-rounded guy. I mean, he's one of those people that are solid in industry, and I mean, the Shoots. I don't know what's that. Are they are part of the class of '88? I think they are part of the class.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, making a.
Yeah. So I mean, they've been making
order that they start making, and that should be around this long time, and still holding them. You see this. A lot of brewers moving, doing different things right now that we don't blame them, but as a fan, sometimes it's hurtful to watch it. But they're still very family oriented.
Well, and there are places too. Like they do offer kind of, they don't offer the wide range of places like Adroit Theory, but they still have a pretty well-rounded portfolio, and some of their beers that they do that are interesting are extremely interesting. Like their Black Butte Anniversary beers are just that's crazy. I think like this year's has like there's like mango puree and apricots or something. It's like an American strong ale, almost like stout-like. But they do definitely do a lot of hop beers.
Although I have to say I have a problem when Abyss comes out and people are paying $50 a bottle. It's I think the beer is amazing and stuff, and I know it's a variation, and I know there's a lot of that goes into making a beer like that. But, man.
Well, I'm hoping, because I've only had the chance of having Abyss a few times, and it's been many years since I've had it, and I'm hoping that I mean, I know they're gonna when they come to Virginia, it's gonna go all over Virginia. But I'm hoping that since they're building the brewery here, that this part of Virginia may get a little bit more, you
Mm.
know,
Yeah,
love than the rest of the rest of the state.
they came into Pennsylvania last year, and we got plenty of this year, which was nice. But yeah, I mean, a solid brewery, I think it's worth it. I think it's gonna make people happy. I don't know. What about you, Mark? How do you see like a brewery moving in your state at that magnitude? Is that a worrisome, or it's like a welcome competition into the states?
Well, I mean, I'm stoked. You know, Stone is here, Green Flash is here, and that just means I'll get even fresher Stone and Green Flash, and hopefully Deschutes beer. You know, I mean, it's a win-win for us. And obviously, you know, beer tourism is a real thing. You know, when you have a big, well-established brewery, they're going to bring their own crowd, and guess what? When they're done drinking Deschutes, they're going to hustle on over and check out the local breweries down in Roanoke.
Well, that's the thing. I'm hoping that it kind of ups the game because I know in the last few years the amount of breweries that have popped up in the Roanoke Valley area is, I mean, it's just they're popping up every day, and there's I don't know how many there are now without sitting down and counting them all, but there's a few getting ready to open up already, and some of them a few of them have been around for 2 or 3 years, and you're like, man, when are you guys gonna start doing something interesting or more innovative? But or good for some of them, but like I'm hoping that get the shoots down here and kind of help up the game for everybody because you get a lot of times when you get those big guys in here, you always find like a lot of collaborations between the big guys and little guys, kind of.
Well, there's no question that Virginia is becoming a beer destination, and I think that the beer tourism is going to grow in Virginia. I mean, if you look just in the last 5 years, the explosion of brewers in Virginia, yeah.
I think it definitely has already, man. I know so many people from Virginia who, I mean, there's a lot of really awesome stuff over there right now, too, period, that you probably didn't hear about, period, years ago.
You guys now even have grown your own crops and stuff. Man, you're just going all out. Yeah. I can't complain. PA is not that bad either. Do you get the shoots at all in Boston area, Freddie?
Negative.
Okay. What about Virginia, Doug? Do you guys get the shoots in Virginia?
I don't think they shoot to Virginia. They currently, I think they're in DC. I don't know if they're in North Carolina or not. I forget. I feel like it's like 30 some states, but I don't know exactly what they're.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about our beer release. We're running out of time here, but lots of beers coming out. Avery in Boulder, Colorado has that Platus Ale. It's aged in tequila barrels with cherries at it. I think that's their aged series, barrel aged series number 36 or 27, something like that. Yeah. So that's going to be released on Sunday. Schlafly and St. Louis, Missouri, which I'm visiting you guys. And Schlafly is going to hopefully be on a show soon. I'll be there in St. Louis. They are coming out with their Double Beans Blonde brewed with coffee and chocolate. That's just came out this week. Our friends from Tennessee Brewworks, they were on our show not long ago, maybe half a year ago. So they are coming out with the Walk the Lime, 100% wheat with fresh lime zest, also coming out this week. St. Arnold in Houston, Texas. The Divine Reserve number 13. I think this time it's a Belgian quad that they're coming out. It is also a bourbon barrels. I think they aged that 13 or 14 months. It's also nice. I think it's 12%. So they're releasing this week as well. Crooked Stave, which you probably noticed there are normal Randy Gardner Jr. is our host, and he is stuck in Denver in snow. But I don't feel too bad about him because he spent his afternoon at Crooked Stave. Hopefully they have Uber in Denver so that he could make back to the hotel. They have their Serenata Nocturna Blueberry Sour. It's coming on March 16th. Was released on March 16th. Sorry about that. Full Sail. I don't know if you saw Full Sail is revamping all their packaging stuff. I actually haven't had anything from Purcellville for a while. I think so. They just came out with two beers, the Hop Pursuit IPA, and then their Blood Orange Wheat Ale. Oscar Blues, which one of the big breweries. They are out in Colorado, but now in Brevard in North Carolina as well. They have this Burrito Mexican Vienna Lager. I always judge a brewery when they make light beer. If they can make a good light beer, gets my respect. But that beer sounds strange, but I really wanted to try
what was
it.
the name of it again?
It's Burrito,
Burrito, like burrito.
like a burrito.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mexican Vienna Lager.
Burrito.
So it's a Mexican lager. Vienna Lager is one of the most popular styles down in Mexico. So that's coming down next week. New Belgian and Fort Collins. We actually will have New Belgian, I think, in 4 weeks for now on our show. Their new CEO is going to be on the show. Let's see, 2 weeks for now. Christine Parrish, the CEO, she's going to be on our show, and we're going to be talking to her at Savor as well. So they are coming out with their Botanical Imperial IPA. It's part of their Hop Kitchen series. I think it's 8.5% or 8 something. Yeah. Flying Dog, not far away, has their Mint Julep Ale, and also Ella Single Hop IPA. They're both coming April 1st. Our friends from Hardywood are having their Bourbon Barrel Chocolate Raspberry Stout with a vanilla bean. I think I have a bottle from last year at which probably don't taste vanilla anymore. I should have drank that already. But this is coming Saturday, the 26th.
Sounds like I need to talk to my people about that one.
Yeah, Freddie put up a whole paragraph here. Trillion Brewing in Boston,
Copy and paste.
Massachusetts. Yeah. So they have what do you say? A dialed-in double IPA. Is that what they're having?
It was there. So yeah. Right.
Go ahead.
No, basically, Monday on March 21st, Trillium released because they had a big anniversary party, a 30-year anniversary party on the 20th, which is on a Sunday. On the 21st, they released their Dialed In. That's the name of the double IPA. It's 8.5%. It's again brewed in celebration of the 30-year anniversary. That was dry hop with Nelson Savant and Galaxy, and then Sauvignon Blanc juice mid fermentation. I had that on Monday night. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to the anniversary party because like the tickets sold. I think they said in like 5 minutes, like 300 tickets sold. I think something like that, and it's completely sold out. So I went Monday just randomly pick up some beer and opened the door and they said, "Hey, six bottles a person limit."
Yeah.
I was like, I was probably like the 10th person in line, but nonetheless, it was awesome beer.
So I know that might be a hard question for you, Mark, but anything coming out? Any releases coming in the next few weeks?
How much time do we have?
Yeah, tell me about it.
So we come out with new beers every week at the tasting room. Most of them never see distro, but that's a never-ending merry-go-round. But we also have bigger releases. So we released Bays, which is our Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels this weekend. Next weekend, we're releasing Legion, which is a Belgian stout brewed with Orapito pepper leaves and aged in Cabernet Sauvignon barrels. The week after that, we're releasing an Imperial Saison brewed with Thai basil, lemon peel, and blueberries. And that's
That sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it's the brew we did with another brewery here in Virginia called Pale Fire, which if you're not tuned into them, they're making some awesome beers. But we brewed that beer together, and we're then aging that beer in gin barrels, Sauterne barrels, and Vin Santo barrels. So we're excited about that. Week after that, we have a white IPA coming out called White Noise, which is as close to a session beer as we make. It's like 7.1, 7.2, something like that, but just, down the hatch. And week after that, we come out with Imagination Atrophy aged in bourbon. So it should be pretty good month for us.
I like that.
Well, yeah, the internet's on my case here. They're saying you forget to ask him about why esoteric beer. So do you wanna explain that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, my brewer actually hates the word esoteric. Um,
Do you guys have some incense and have a little Zen time before you come up with the recipe?
what are you gonna say? Well, it's avant-garde, yeah, it just we don't brew to style. We try to make interesting, cutting-edge beers. Again, you don't have to like them, right? I mean, we just make what we think is really interesting, and again, you either like it or you don't, but it's always going to be interesting. And because of that, I mean, that's part of where our name came from. I mean, Adroit is, you're skilled with your hands and you're clever, right? So you're taking really basic ingredients and turning them into the elixir we know as beer, right? And then theory is, it's theoretical concept beers. They're not to style, they're not to make somebody happy, they're to make us happy. So esoteric I thought was a good word to try to capture that mentality. And again, it's not for the masses. It's definitely for people that are into what we're doing. And again, obviously we want people to like it, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Awesome. All right, some festivals happening. New York American Craft Beer Festival, and obviously New York City, I should say, New York City American Craft Beer Festival in New York. So March 15th to 26th. Chicago Beer Fest in Chicago, Illinois, March 26th. Mission Valley Craft Beer and Food Festival in San Diego, California. I wish I was there right now. March 26th. Annapolis Beer Week. So that's going to be in several different locations. I think they do in Annapolis, and that's going to be from April 1st to April 8th. Big Texas Beer Fest in Dallas. That happens on April 1st and 2nd. And this is North Carolina month, I think. Start first April 1st all the way to the 30th is that's a statewide kind of. They're gonna have a lot of breweries and stuff. It's like North Carolina goes doing really good stuff. More and more breweries and great. So they have their beer celebration from the 1st to the 30th. Are you guys doing any festivals on the next few weeks?
Is that for me?
Mark? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're entering festival season, so it's a never-ending, series of events. I think the big ones that we're looking forward to is we are pouring beer at Savor this year, which we're completely stoked about. We're pouring Triptych, which is it's a saison that we brewed with rambutan fruit, and then we aged it in Opus 1 red wine barrels. I think it's a really, really unique and interesting beer. We're also serving Ortolan Bunting, which is a strong ale brewed with treacle and then aged in French Armagnac brandy barrels. So again, I think we have a nice, interesting mix of beers for Savor. But what's cool is we're also doing a salon at Savor, where we're doing kind of an advanced cheese pairing with like 5 of our beers. And we're going to kind of cherry pick specific beers and then do like a very complex, cheese pairing with them. So we're stoked about that. We will be in Boston, Freddie, for beer camp, Sierra Nevada beer camp. We'll also be in Wisconsin for beer camp the week prior. We're trying to get into Tampa. We just don't have any employees willing to drive down there. We'll see.
Yeah, if you have not heard about Savor, you're losing it. Savor, it happens every year. June. This year is going to be June. It happens every year in June, and this year will be the weekend of June the 3rd and 4th. Again, they're I think that was a year they did in New York, but they mostly do in Washington, and they were back in Washington last year, and they're back again, and that's the American National Building Museum.
Washington D.C., not the state of Washington.
Washington D.C. Yes. Yeah. Beautiful location. I mean, it's one of the best beer festival you can go. They pair every single beer with a different food. So it's really, really excellent. Julia Harris do an amazing job organizing that, and their chef amazing job getting the food. So we'll be meeting Mark over there.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be awesome. Um, so next week, do you have anything else before we go, Mark? Anything else you want to say?
Well, thank you so much, for taking the time. Some great questions, good conversation, and I look forward to meeting you in person and hopefully having a beer.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're going to really thank you. It was awesome. We enjoy always meeting new brewers, and I'm looking forward to get my hands on some of your beers tomorrow. So don't miss us. Join us next week where we're having another brewery that is going to be in Savor. They are out of St. Louis, Missouri, Urban Chest Brewing Company. So Florian Copeland will be joining us next week. Make sure to watch all our shows on YouTube or check in our podcast. We're on Stitcher and iTunes. I see you guys next week. And don't forget, mind your pews and your cues.
Okay.
Mind your pews and cues. I better go. I have too many already.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.